වැඩියෙන් භාගයයි කලක් පවතින අලුත් පෙනුමයි.
Tonight, don't be fooled. Health authorities skeptical over recent drop in case numbers.
The reduction of cases is actually due to the trade union actions held yesterday and day before yesterday.
While Lambda gains traction.
Lambda variant, WHO has identified this as a variant of interest.
Parliament comeback. Basil Rajapaksa's name gazetted as an MP. Sri Lankan woes. The national carriers management in the crosshairs before COPE.
With all the other savings that we have saved about $106 million. Now we have actually removed $106 million of fixed overhead.
A decision to have a national carrier is one thing. Whether this whole effort is profitable for a country is another thing.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Wednesday, the 7th of July, 2021.
නම ලයිෆ් බොයි වෙනිවල් සහ කෝමාරිකා විෂ බීජ වලින් රටටම ආරක්ෂාවයි සමටත් සුමුදුයි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammike Kanai. Now let's start with the local stories. Chairman of the Committee on Public Enterprises, Professor Charita Herath, has directed the chairman of the Sri Lankan Airlines to prepare a comprehensive business plan to bring the carrier back to profit and submit it to the committee within a month. This was revealed, or it was revealed, I should say, that the company's daily loss is 84 million rupees, and despite that, some pilots are paid over 2 million rupees a month, while some members of the airline's management and engineers drew 1 million upwards.
The management of the Sri Lanka Airlines was summoned before the Committee on Public Enterprises yesterday. During the proceedings, it was revealed that the loss of Sri Lankan Airlines Limited as at the 31st of March 2021, from the day it was taken over by the government, was 372,015 million rupees. The chairman of the committee had said that the total loss of the company following taxes in the year 2020 to 2021 was 45,674 million rupees, and the operating loss has also increased. The committee had observed that the adverse capital conditions of the company had reached a critical level by the 31st of March this year and was therefore facing a problematic situation regarding its operations without the assistance of the Treasury. The committee observed that the cabinet had approved an additional investment of $500 million from the Treasury by 2020, of which $240 million had already been released to the company. The committee also observed that a senior management officer serving in Sri Lankan Airlines as of the 31st of March receives a monthly salary of 3.1 million rupees. Further, 82 pilots receive a monthly salary of over 2 million rupees. Another 142 pilots, 12 aeronautical engineers, 9 engineering managers and 3 top management officers of Sri Lankan Airlines receive a monthly salary of between 1 million and 2 million rupees.
There was a meal allowance paid to cabin crew of $25, which we have been fighting because we thought, it's completely unnecessary. The fact is, while they are flying, we anyway provide them meals. So I think that alone we are getting savings of about $10 to $12 million per annum. Then with all the other savings that we have saved about $106 million. Now we have actually removed $106 million of fixed overhead from the organization. What we are saying is, if we come back to pre-COVID level of revenue, we believe that we would be profitable because this 106 million is completely been eliminated now. If we come back to and if we do 926 million of revenue, the company should break even. So that's the point that we are trying to drive.
මේ plan එක පදනම් වෙන්නෙම මේ IATA observation එක සහ forecast එක මතනේ.
නෑ අයට ඒක නෙවෙයි. අයට කියන්නේ global forecast එකක් අපි ගත්තේ COVID එකේ situation එක අයට එකේ තියෙන numbers උත් අපි මේකට consider කරලා තියෙනවා. We have considered the Sri Lankan domestic market and our tourism sector. Now if you take for example, now we can't fly to India. Because India had been about 35% of our market has been India. So in today's context, if you really analyze, so there are various factors we need to take. We can't just only go by that.
Now a decision to have a national carrier is one thing. That any government can take that decision and protect that decision.
Correct.
That is the second thing. Whether this whole effort is profitable for a country is another thing.
මේ airline එක අපි තියාගන්න ඕන නම් අපි ඇත්තටම compete කරන්න ඕනේ. We must actually go very aggressively, right? When the COVID is over, because we have a great opportunity. Now we have Indian market. India doesn't have a proper airline එකක් නෑ ඉන්දියාවල. Actually, we don't need to put capital because we can lease out as long as you have a credibility with the lessors. You can take any amount of aircrafts at the right price. If you take the aircrafts at the right price, airline can be profitable. So what we should do is actually improve your turnover, maybe run more sectors, get to about $2 billion revenue, and your extra $1 billion will come at a much lower cost because you will be taking aircrafts at a lower lease cost.
Number one, the business plan to be presented to us, then we will be having a discussion after 1 month's time. At the same time, we are going to have 2 other different documentations from the ministry. One is their position paper, other one is the expert opinion on this thing. Then the Chapter 11 issue that you have to take up with your Cabinet Minister and the Honourable Secretary. Mr. Secretary would convey and we will write to the Cabinet Secretary. These are the 4 main recommendations and we are going to have our discussions again after 1 month's time.
අඩ සේවසකට වැඩි ජනතා විශ්වාසය නව සංයෝගයක රයිනෝ රෝෆින් සහ සීලිං ෂීට්.
Health officials continue to caution the public not to be deceived by the current case numbers of COVID-19 as they lay doubts over the accuracy of the current data due to the delays induced by the recent trade union action. Meanwhile, the Director General of Health Services today announced that those arriving in Sri Lanka from overseas after 14 days of full vaccination no longer need to undergo the mandatory 2-week quarantine if their on-arrival PCR is negative. This, however, is not applicable for travel-restricted countries. Now, let's take a look at the country's pandemic situation.
For a second day running, the virus caseload in Sri Lanka came under 1,000. At the heels of 869 new cases being confirmed on Monday, there were 934 yesterday. Colombo district confirmed the highest number of cases with 201. The other 2 districts in the western province, Gampaha and Kalutara, recorded 160 and 102 new cases respectively yesterday. Although on the surface the situation looks positive, all may not be well. Health authorities warn that the daily caseload over the last 2 days are not a true reflection of the ground reality.
Yesterday we reported nearly 915 cases. It is actually the reduction of cases due to the trade union actions held yesterday and day before yesterday because there were less sample collected from the field, less number of sample tested in the laboratory. So we are expecting all this collection and the testing will be normalized today itself.
As a result of the recent trade union action launched by several health unions, the number of PCR tests conducted within the last 24 hours had dropped to 5,631. Meanwhile, another COVID-19 variant named Lambda is on the rise, infiltrating over 30 countries.
Lambda variant, which is reported from some Latin African countries, WHO has identified this variant as a variant of interest. It is reported from 31 countries.
The World Health Organization says that there is insufficient information to gauge its levels of transmissibility or mortality just yet, as studies are still underway to ascertain whether this should be classified as a variant of concern. Virus mutation is a natural phenomenon. Those new variants, wherever their place of origin may be, entering the country is very real possibility. The Health Ministry highlights that the government has taken all possible measures to mitigate such an eventuality, especially in the backdrop of the Delta variant now confirmed from Sri Lanka's community. But nothing in this scenario is foolproof. If and when a dangerous new variant infiltrates Sri Lanka, the best tool to combat it lies with the people.
If it comes into the country and if it gets established, the best and the most important way to prevent the spread of such variant will be adhering to the health guidelines. And we earnestly request to the public, everybody should adhere to the health guidelines all the time so that the risk of transmission will be minimized.
Whether it's indifference, carelessness, or being fed up with the COVID-induced restrictions and changes, some people still fail in adhering to health guidelines. As for today, 678 fresh cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed in the island so far, taking the country's number of active cases to 26,667. On a positive note, there were also 1,472 COVID recoveries today, taking the overall tally to 238,131.
Big 3.
Now, Sri Lanka today rolled out the Pfizer vaccine to those hopeful of the AstraZeneca second dose. The inoculations were worked off within the Colombo municipality for people above or between the ages of 55 and 70. Meanwhile, vaccinations of all teachers sans an age limit will begin from the 12th of this month.
Sri Lanka today began administering the Pfizer shots to people hopeful of getting the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine. The island's vaccination drive was boosted by a consignment of 26,000 Pfizer vaccine doses yesterday, which is the fourth batch of 5 million shots to be received this year. The Health Department of the Colombo Municipal Council commenced the rollout within the municipality for people above 55 and below 70 years of age. Health officials in Colombo were only able to fully vaccinate 384,294 people from the grand total of 925,242 people who received their first shot before running out of AstraZeneca doses.
The Colombo Municipal Council has arranged a system where eligible persons residing in the Colombo Municipal Council area will be informed about the date and time of vaccination on the day prior to the scheduled vaccination in the form of a SMS, or they will give a telephone call, or they will send a telegram to the respective address given to the Health Department of the Municipal Council. Anybody has not got the message up to now, be patient. They will be getting the messages the day prior to the vaccination.
Meanwhile, in the Western Province as a whole, vaccination continued for people above the age of 30. In other provinces, over 60s were vaccinated. The immunization program is also being worked off at selected medical centers operated by Triforces, including the army hospitals. In the meantime, Director General of Health Dr. Asela Gunawardena has instructed the vaccination of all teachers sans an age limit. Non-academic staff too will be included in the vaccination program starting from the 12th of this month.
Ministry of Health and the Department of Education, with collaboration of College of Pediatrician, and decided to give the vaccination for the teachers in government sector and private sector. Teachers with all the other staff engaged in school activities will be vaccinated in the respective MOH areas. The list of the teachers and the other staff members of the schools will be sent to the area MOH by the zonal directors, and the MOH will arrange the nearest hospital for this vaccination. The age limit is above 18. When the teachers were fully vaccinated, we will be discussing to open up the schools after vaccinating the children who are having comorbidities. All these criteria will be announced in near future.
Meanwhile, after observing a reluctance in the elderly population in opting for the jab, health authorities stressed on the need for them to get fully immunized.
Request to the elderly, both at homes and in elderly homes, to get your vaccine from your relevant MOH area. It's very important that all elderly in our country gets their COVID vaccine, because we know the complications are more among the elderly.
The director of the Health Promotion Bureau also gave a breakdown of the vaccinations with regard to the expectant mothers within and outside the Western Province.
So far, up to now, in 16 districts, 11,067 pregnant women in their second and third trimester with complications have been vaccinated. As you know, the pregnant mothers who have complications, COVID vaccine is offered to them, and up to now, 11,067 pregnant mothers have received the vaccine.
What's more, another batch of 50,000 Sputnik V vaccines arrived in the island today, and the consignment was handed over to the State Pharmaceuticals Corporation. In keeping with the purchase order placed by the SPC, this is the fourth consignment of Sputnik vaccine to arrive from Russia.
We will see you shortly. Stay with us.
ගෙදරකට තේ හදනවා කියන්නේ වෙනම වැඩ. එක එක්කිනාගේ පදම වෙනස්. මැලිබන් තේ ගෙදර පදමට තේ.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, State Minister of Regional Cooperation Taraka Balasura is of the view that Sri Lanka needs to become economically stronger in order to stave off unnecessary pressures from powerful countries. Addressing a media briefing today, he emphasised the need to get a better foothold in Asian export markets so that Western nations cannot exert influence over the island.
ඒක මල්ටිලැටරල් නැත්නම් ඒ රටවල් කීපයක්ගේ එකකතාවයක්. හැබැයි නමුත් මේකම අපිට ඒ බයිලැටරලි කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට ඉන්දියාවත් එක්ක වෙනම සාකච්ඡා කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට පාකිස්තානෙත් එක්ක වෙනම සාකච්ඡා කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට බංග්ලාදේශෙත් එක්ක වෙනම සාකච්ඡා කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට ඉකොනොමික් ඩිප්ලොමසි, කල්චරල් ඩිප්ලොමසි අපිට ඒව අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම අනික් රටවල් එක්ක අපි දැනටම අපි කරමින් යනවා. ඒකට අපි විශේෂයෙන්ම අපි බලන්නේ යම්කිසි විදියකට අනාගතයේදී ඒ වැදගත් වෙන විෂයන් වලට අපි පුළුවන් තරම් මැදිහත් වීමක් කරන්න තමයි අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. විශේෂයෙන්ම තමුන්නාසලා දන්නවා දැන් අපේ ජනාධිපතිතුමාගෙන් රිනියුවබල් එනර්ජි 70%කට යන්න ඒ ඉලක්කයක් තිබෙනවා. ඒකට විදුලි බලාගාර මම හිතන්නේ 7000ක් වගේ හදන්න ඒ වැඩසටහනක් තිබෙනවා. දැන් මේ විදුලි බලාගාර හැදුවාම ඒවට බැටරිස් තිබුණොත් එහෙම අපිට පුළුවන් අර පීක් කවර් එකේදී ඒ බැටරි charge කරලා එතකොට ඔෆ් පීක් කවර් එකේදී ඒකේදී ඒක රිලීස් කරන්න ඒවට කියන්නේ ෆ්ලෝ බැටරිස් කියලා. එතකොට අපි CED එකත් එක්ක ඒ වගේම අපි ස්ලින්ටෙක් ආයතනයත් එක්ක ඒ වගේම අපි විශේෂයෙන්ම ග්‍රැෆීන් පිළිබඳව පරීක්ෂණ කරන රුසියාවේ ආයතනයක් තිබුණා රුස් ග්‍රැෆීන් කියලා. ඒ සම්බන්ධතා අපි ඇති කරලා දුන්නා. එතකොට අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා ඉදිරි අවුරුදු 5කින් 10කින් විතර විශේෂයෙන්ම මේක ඉතාම වැදගත් ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨයක් වෙනවා කියලා. විශේෂයෙන්ම තව අනාගතයේදී වැදගත් වෙන අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම අපි ෆ්‍රාන්සේ වගේ රටවල් එක්කත් අපි කලාපීය සහයෝගිතාව වුණාට අපි සාකච්ඡා කරමින් යනවා. අපි කොහොමද මේක මෙරයින් හබ් එකක් හැටියට අපි දියුණු කරන්නේ කියලා. බංග්ලාදේශ වගේ ගත්තොත් එහෙම දැන් ඒ කට්ටිය රටවල් 140 ගානකට ඒ කට්ටියගේ ෆාමසිටිකල් ඒ කට්ටිය අපනයනය කරනවා. මහින්ද මහත්තයත් එක්ක අපි ගියන් පස්සේ බංග්ලාදේශයට අපි ඒ ආයතන කීපයක් ලංකාවට දැන් ගේන්න අපි සාකච්ඡා කරමින් යනවා.
State Minister of Regional Cooperation Taraka Balasura went on to stress the importance of Sri Lanka developing a stronger economic base if the island is to stave off some of the foreign arm twisting.
රටවල් එක්ක අපේ හොඳ සබඳතා තියෙනවා. මේවා මේ අපිත් එක්ක අපි ඒක තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ ජිනීවා එකට අපිට විරුද්ධව ඡන්ද දුන්නට අපිත් එක්ක නරක සබඳතාවයක් නැහැ. උදාහරණයකට ගත්තොත් එහෙම කොරියාව. ගත්තොත් එහෙම කොරියාවට වැදගත්ම වන දේ තමයි ඒ කට්ටියගේ ආරක්ෂාව. මොකද දන්නවා උතුරු කොරියාවේ නැශිත ආවි තිබෙනවා. ඒකට ඒ රටට ඇමරිකාව වගේ රටවල් බලපෑමක් කිව්වොත් එහෙම මේ පැත්තට මේ විදිහට ඡන්ද දෙන්න කියලා ඒ රටවල් අහනවා. එහෙම තමයි ඉන්දියාවත්. ඉන්දියාවත් ඊපස්සේ කිව්වොත් එහෙම අපි කියමු මේ රටවල් වලට එක්ක ඡන්ද පාවිච්චි නොකර ඉන්න කියලා. එතකොට ඒ රටවල් යම් කිසි විදිහට අහනවා. බංග්ලාදේශ වගේ රටක් අපි දන්නවා විශාල ලෙස අපිට පක්ෂ ඡන්ද දුන්නා. නමුත් ඒ කට්ටියත් කිව්වා ලොකු පීඩනයක් කට්ටියටත් තිබුණා කියලා. දැන් ඒ වගේ රටකට විශේෂයෙන්ම දැන් ඇමරිකාවත් එක්ක ඇඳුම් විශාල ලෙස ඒ කට්ටිය ගනුදෙනු කරනවා. එතකොට උඹලා අපි කියන විදිහට උඹලා කරන්නේ නැත්තම් මෙන්න මේ වගේ දේවල් වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා අර soft power. දැන් මේ ඔය බලවත් රටවල් soft power පාවිච්චි කරන එක එන්න වැඩි වෙලා තිබෙනවා. හැබැයි මේකට මම හිතන්නේ මේ දීර්ඝකාලීන විසඳුමක් හැටියට අපි ආර්ථික වශයෙන් ශක්තිමත් වන්න ඕනේ. දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම ආසියානු රටවල් දැන් වැඩියෙන්ම බිස්නස් කරන්නේ කලාපයේ චීනෙත් එක්කයි. දැන් ඒ කට්ටිය මේ ඇමරිකාවත් එක්ක නෙවෙයි වැඩියෙන්ම ගනුදෙනු කරන්නේ. ඉතින් එක පැත්තකින් අපිට තවත් තිබෙන ගැටලුවක් තමයි අපේ අපනයනය දිහා බැලුවොත්. එහෙනම් අපි බහුතරයක් අපි අපනයනය කරන්නේ යුරෝපා රටවල් වලට ඇමරිකානු රටවල් වලට. ඉතින් මේකත් අපි ආසියානු රටවල් වලටත් අපි අපනයනය කරන එක වැඩි දියුණු කර ගන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට ඒ ආර්ථික වශයෙන් අපි ශක්තිමත් වුණොත් විතරයි අපිට මම හිතන්නේ අපිට මේ රටවල් වලට එන අභියෝග වලට පීඩනය අඩු කර ගන්න පුළුවන් වන්නේ.
The Election Commission today published the Gazette Extraordinary declaring the founder of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Basil Rajpaksha as a Member of Parliament. The SLPP nominated the name of Basil Rajpaksha to the Election Commission yesterday to fill the parliamentary seat vacated by Jayantha Katagoda. Making way for the party's founder, Katagoda stepped down from his position as a nationalist MP and handed his resignation to the Secretary-General of Parliament yesterday. The Secretary-General of Parliament informed the House of Katagoda's resignation during today's sitting. Basil Rajpaksha is expected to take oath as the Minister of Money and Economic Development tomorrow. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States has issued a Level 3 travel health notice for Sri Lanka due to the pandemic situation in the country, downscaling its previously issued travel restrictions. It previously issued a level 4 health notice against Sri Lanka, which indicated a high level of the spread. The terrorist threat level, meanwhile, remains unchanged. We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation is awarding a $75 million funding line to NDB Bank to support its work in expanding and strengthening the small and medium enterprises sector, particularly among women business owners. The funding agreement directs a portion of the loan to businesses that are owned by women, led by women, or provide a product or service that empowers women. DFC is the development finance institution of the United States federal government, primarily responsible for providing the facilitating the financing of private development projects in lower and middle income countries. The Colombo Stock Exchange has introduced a new over-the-counter platform to carry out repurchase agreement transactions on debt securities. The new OTC platform, established to carry out repo transactions on DEX securities, will create a further regularized opportunity for investors, trading members and other corporates involved in the fixed income securities market in Sri Lanka. In view of the said development, the CSE says that it has invited applications for trading membership from eligible entities to carry out repo transactions on debt securities on the new OTC platform to be implemented by the CSE shortly. Entities entitled to apply for the trading membership of the CSE are institutions appointed by the central bank as an authorized primary dealer or commercial banks licensed by the CBSL. The new trading members admitted by the CSE could commence repo transactions on the OTC platform subsequent to obtaining a license from the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka as a stock dealer and stockbroker. Now, taking a look at the Colombo Bourse, the all-share price index gained 17.17 points to end at 7,809.38, and S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks ended at 2,936.41, following a gain of 5.10 points. Market turnover was 1.3 billion rupees. Now, here's Dimantha Matthew with a brief report on today's market performance.
We are starting to see somewhat of a confidence level is starting to get rebuilt among the investors as we saw a gradual uptrend during the day today. So overall we saw renewed buying interest, specifically coming into fundamentally sound counters. So with that, what we gather is that the confidence level among the traditional investor is slowly but surely getting rebuilt. So with that, today we saw a bit of a struggle during the early part of the day, during the first half of the day, and then a gradual buying interest emerged in the market as the ASPI gained by around 17 points. Top turnover levels dominated by the blue chip counters and more fundamentally sound counters, which is a very positive sign for the market. So capital goods sector was the dominant sector for the day, and in addition to that we saw banking sector counters and transportation sector counters making a mark in terms of turnover.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.